Hello, everyone. Welcome to our brand new webinar series. Did you know what's new in OCI? Just like the name suggests, if it's in this webinar series, we'll focus on newly announced features and enhancements of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and discuss how these solutions empower businesses to achieve great efficiency, security, and scalability. Whether you are a seasoned OCI user or just starting your cloud journey, you are in the right place to explore what's new. My name is Renu Bhatt, Program Lead for Customer Enablement Team here at Oracle. And joining us today for this webinar are Troy Levin, Anand Prasad, and Shomi Pathak. And now I'll hand it over to Anand.
Thank you, Renu. I think before we start this session, I think I just wanted to throw some fun fact. How many of you have heard about the firewalls? The Cisco was the first the company, and the DEC and Cisco were the pioneers in innovating the network layer firewalls. And it's a basic firewall a long time back in 1980. I don't know many of you knew this information. Just wanted to throw out that fun fact, about the firewalls, like it was in early 80s, like it was founded by the two giant companies in the industry. Now, before I start the conversation with Troy about the network firewalls, I wanted to provide the audience as some sort of information. You all have heard about firewalls, probably have used in your day-to-day lives, or your companies have deployed many of the network firewalls. But let's step back and understand what are the current challenges, fundamental challenges we are dealing with this cloud security. As a lot of companies are migrating to the cloud, what are the fundamental challenges? I want to try to address that before we start providing solutions to these challenges. Troy, do you mind addressing that challenge?
Yeah, thanks, Nod. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Great question. So it's always good to talk about the problem before you talk about the solution. And so we at Oracle, we believe that our customers are adopting cloud and expect us to solve some of these fundamental challenges. We think about these quite a bit, and we really consider solving these challenges as table stakes for any security solution we build. Now, security tools have traditionally lacked the integrations, observability, threat intelligence, and overall operational simplicity that's required to secure your users, devices, and apps and infrastructure as customers. And so, for example, we believe that integrations with our existing cloud-native services are extremely important to enhance functionality, visibility, and management. The ability to stream logs from services like the network firewall to our logging and analytics services really help customers do things like correlate events and be better prepared to deal with incident response with really low overhead, because these services already exist in our cloud. Visibility and monitoring via logs and metrics are also extremely important. They provide customers with insights into traffic patterns like volume, and also help identify normal versus potential malicious traffic patterns. And cloud really introduces a highly elastic and dynamic environment. And without industry-leading threat intelligence, you risk your business being exploited by bad actors who are looking to take advantage of the newest exploits before companies can even catch on to them. And so finally, operational simplicity really reduces human error, reduces training overhead, and it leads to a better overall user experience. And so, as I said, the promise of cloud native is to solve these challenges for our customers, and we really do care at Oracle about meeting that expectation. How's that a nod for an answer?
Perfect. Thank you, Troy, for that. I think now that you talked about this current challenges the industry is facing, what is Oracle game plan to address these challenges? And I'm very interested to know, from the capabilities perspective, how Oracle is taking head on to address these challenges.
Good question. So let me tell you a little bit about our network firewall, keeping in mind some of those challenges that we just discussed. So we launched our network firewall roughly around 2 years ago, and we believe our network firewall can help address cloud security challenges and also lower customers' total cost of ownership at the same time. You know, our OCI network firewall is cloud native. It's a managed next generation firewall service. It's powered by industry leading Palo Alto Networks technologies under the hood. And we offer it as an OCI native turnkey service that is elastically scalable, that has built-in high availability and resiliency, and it provides best-in-class threat intelligence to protect your workloads from and users from advanced threats like malware, spyware, and vulnerability exploits. And so with this firewall service, you can monitor and apply granular security controls. You can centrally manage your security policies, and you can easily enforce them across your virtual cloud networks. And you can achieve all this without needing any additional complex third-party security infrastructure, which helps reduce risks, provides continuous protections, and hopefully allows you to sleep better at night. Anand, hopefully that answered the question for you.
Yes, Troy. I really enjoyed hearing about the Oracle capabilities, but I think what else can the OCI firewall do for provide you you talked about cloud native, best in class, you packaged service, automated and everything. What additional things you can talk about OCI network firewall?
Good question. So in terms of specific features, we really take pride in the way we've made these major categories easy to implement and operate for customers. Let me cover a couple of these in a little bit more detail. So the first one is stateful firewalling. And this allows you to enforce, allow or deny stateful filtering rules for both IPv4 and IPv6 traffic based on 5-tuple information. We take into account the direction and context of the flow when we enforce these rules. And with the OCI network firewall, customers can strengthen their security posture with stateful networking filtering with increased scale as compared to things like NSGs and security lists. Now, the firewall service also has an inbuilt intrusion detection and prevention system to help block malware and spyware type exploits. It's powered by industry-leading Palo Alto's threat analysis engine and their Unit 42 research team of cybersecurity experts. They're leading class of engineers in the industry. And it also supports application layer security features such as custom URL and fully qualified domain name-based filtering. And this enables you to restrict traffic to a user-specified list of FQDNs and URLs, including wildcards. And last but not least, the firewall can inspect every request, including TLS encrypted traffic flows. So finally, the network firewalls natively integrated metrics and traffic and threat logs also help customers understand the rules and countermeasures triggered by the incoming requests that the firewall receives. And these logs can be also funneled to our native logging analytics service or even a third-party SIM platform of your choice to help you meet your audit and compliance logging requirements.
Perfect. I think I'm so excited about the Oracle capabilities. But I think, in the industry, right, it's a constant changing evolution, right? In the cloud is a change, there is no perimeter for cloud. But also, I think there's a famous saying, right? It takes many, many decades to build a reputation and just a few minutes of cyber incident to ruin the reputation. You talked about any company which I have spoken to, right? They have built a reputation for many decades, but the cyber incident or a compromising of their networks as well as their assets ruins their reputation. What is this constant changing? How is Oracle keeping up with the industry in terms of network firewall capabilities and the changes in the ecosystem, which is happening in today's world?
Great question, Anand. So we're excited to be talking about the recent enhancements to the service that are now generally available in all of our OCI regions. And we're always looking and planning to innovate and iterate on the service. We've broken these enhancements into several categories that are focused on key areas of the product. The first thing is that we've simplified the user experience when working with the policy. We've introduced things like bulk policy imports, so it's easier to manage large policy across, migrations or regional deployments and things like rules reconciliation. Second, we've introduced the ability to reorder rules, so you can making it more easier for customers to respond to threats and handle rule conflicts and prioritize rule execution. And third, we've separated out the L3, L4, and L7 policy resources so that it's easier for customers to create more granular rule sets when they're authoring their policy. Now, that's not all we've done. So additionally, we continue to make strides on scale, and specifically policy scale. So with our recent enhancements also comes significant increases across all of the policy resources and components. So customers can now grow their policies to enterprise-grade configurations. In some cases, we've made more than 800 times increases, and it's something we're really excited about and know that our customers are going to make good use of. And lastly, we've made two significant performance improvements. We now have support for active regional high availability. So for customers who are deploying our firewall in multi-AD regions, they can be ensured that out of the box, without any configuration, they can get this high availability. We've also increased the firewall's throughput by 3x to meet the performance demands of customers who are requiring more bandwidth. And we've also heard feedback around the time that it takes to update policy. And so we're excited to announce that we've made a 5x improvement there as well.
Perfect.
What do you think about that, Anand?
Oh, I love the enhancements you guys are focused on. You're investing a lot of time and effort in catching up with where the industry is heading towards. But I seeing is believing it, right? Because you talked about last 10 to 15 minutes about the capabilities the network firewall the Oracle is offering. But I would love to see that. It's there is a great saying, seeing is believing. Can you quickly show us a sneak preview about your Oracle network firewall capability, so that I want the audience to get a sneak preview into that, and maybe they can ask questions about if they want to deep dive into any of the topics which you presented so far?
Yeah, absolutely. None of this PowerPoint is real unless it's actually can be demoed, right? So let me transition to a quick demo. And in order to do that, before I jump into an actual live demo, let me just go over really quickly what the goal of the demo is. And I think there's two outcomes to this demo that I hope come across. There's obviously I want to showcase the OCI network firewall workflow. I'm going to cover how that works within the console, so that folks can see how easy it is to implement this. But the second thing I want to cover is a very specific use case that's going to showcase some of the capabilities. We call this the selective access use case for Oracle services. And so let me cover that really quickly. And really the scenario here is around a specific requirement, a strict requirement that a customer has, whereby no traffic should traverse the internet. And so they've deployed a service gateway, which is a specific type of gateway inside of OCI that gives customer access to all Oracle services. Now, this customer in particular only needs to access object storage. They have a couple buckets. They really don't need access to any other services, and they want to restrict that. And since the service gateway today doesn't have any capabilities native to it to restrict user access to other services, we're going to use the firewall to do that. And so the firewall in this case is going to be configured to use URL filtering. It's going to be configured to use SSL decryption. And using URL filtering and SSL decryption, we're going to ask the firewall to inspect traffic to the object storage service and only allow that traffic through if it's deemed to be non-malicious. And so in order to demonstrate this, we have these two buckets. Bucket B is stores a file that has no malware, and bucket A stores a file that does have malware. And so we expect that the firewall will allow access to bucket B, but block access to bucket A. So in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to actually log into this Linux machine that's in the client subnet, and I'm going to use this Linux machine to access the object storage bucket through the firewall. And so to do that, I'm going to hop into this Linux machine, and just to show you that it's got this IP address. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and I'm going to run a script that's going to first go out and pull data from bucket B. And what you can see here is that this Linux machine has no problem downloading this HTML file. We get a 200 status OK. Now, if I do the same thing for bucket A, what you'll notice here is that I don't get a status 200 OK. I do get connected to the object storage bucket, but there's something happening here that's preventing me from downloading that file. And so it looks like the firewall is actually blocking this in the way we want it to. So let's validate, let's go through the setup and the policy, and we'll go through and double check on this. So if you've ever logged into the OCI console, you'll notice this, you'll recognize this as the landing page. Our firewall service is located, if you click on this little hamburger icon, it's located under the identity and security section. And you'll notice here that there's a little firewall section here. Now, there's two little components. There's the policies, and then you create the policy and you attach it to a firewall. So the first thing we'll do is we'll check on the policies. Now, in the interest in time, I've already developed and created this network firewall policy, but if you wanted to from scratch, you would just click on create network firewall policy, and you would go through the workflow. But let's just take a look at this policy as it's built today. When you click on the policy, you'll notice on the left-hand side that there are several policy resources that make up the policy. There are things like decryption rules, security rules, applications and application lists, services and services lists, URL list, address list, match secrets, encryption profiles, and you can see where the policy is attached to which firewall. What I want to focus in on is the URL lists. And this is where we've created a object that is going to match different traffic based off of the URL. Now we can ignore the management part here. This is just so that things don't break. But if I look at, for example, this object storage hello world bucket B, what I can see here is that the URL that I've put in here is the URL that the object storage bucket has provided me when I set this up with the data in it. And the same thing's true for the object storage bucket A, which contains the malware. Now that I've created these objects, I can actually use these objects to create security rules based off of my requirements. And if you recall in the demo overview, what I wanted to do is I wanted to allow traffic to both bucket A and bucket B, but I wanted to inspect that traffic and only allow that traffic if it was deemed to be non-malicious. And we know from the test that I showed you that the traffic was passing to bucket B, but it was not passing to bucket A. So how do we validate that the firewall rules that we've implemented are actually working as we intended? Well, after we've got this policy created, what we can do is we can go over to the firewall section here. And when you create a network firewall, you can attach the policy to it. And assuming you've got routing configured correctly to send traffic to the firewall will see and start inspecting that traffic or applying those security rules in the policy. Now, what we do is if we click on the firewall, we can look at some things to actually validate that the behavior we're seeing is what we intended. First thing I'll show you is that we have some of the metrics that we emit. We emit things like packet sent, packet received, and what we also do is we show you for every security rule that you've provisioned on the firewall, we show you the hit counts. And then we also show you the hit counts for the decryption rules. In addition to that, we also have two types of logs that the firewall allows you to configure. There's the traffic log, which I'll open up, and then there's also a threat log. Now, if you remember, we sent some traffic through, and if we look at the past hour or so, we can see all of the flow records that pertain to the firewall. You can see here we get very detailed information about the flows, source, destination, ports. It tells you what the action was and what the rule was that it hit. It even gives you geolocation for some of the destinations.
Yeah, I love the log file, Troy. I think this is very detailed, very interesting information, and they can definitely pipe this into their log aggregation systems, which they have it like Datadog or Splunk, or even use Oracle to see the
Yep.
log aggregation in a single pane of window.
Yep.
Very
The
nice.
last thing I'll show you really quickly before we move on is this threat log. The threat log is important because if you remember when we tried to go to bucket A, we were not successful. And what you can see here is that that traffic from my client to the object storage bus destination hit the object storage rule, but the traffic was reset because we detected a vulnerability. So hopefully that gives you a good insight, Anand, into how the firewall actually works.
Thank you, Troy. I think this was very informative. Now, I think the folks in the audience, I'm pretty sure this was very interesting for you to get to know a very sneak preview into the Oracle Firewall. Probably this was not the complete thing Troy and his team has worked on for many years on this.
Yep.
But I certainly would like to know, what can the audience expect? Like, what can they look forward? Like, what is the thing which is coming up in the looking forward from the firewall perspective?
Absolutely. Great question. So we're excited to be sharing some upcoming enhancements to the service that we're working on right now. In the interest of time, I'm only going to cover a few, but we've broken these into a couple different categories. The thing I'm most excited about, and what I think customers are most interested in, is this under access control, we have this L7 app ID based access control, which is going to offer customers more granular secure access control. And what this does is it allows customers to use application identification technology, which enables organizations to shift to an application-focused approach rather than a port and protocol-based policy. And we use Palo Alto has multiple identification techniques to help customers identify the exact identity of applications that are traversing through your infrastructure, and you can build a policy based off of that. And then in addition to that, there's these other things that are also on the list here. And for those who have any interest, please reach out. We can get you more detailed information.
Perfect. Troy, I think this has been a fantastic session from you, and I think I've learned a lot from you as well in this session. Troy, can you just provide us some resources where the audience can take advantage of, like, after this session, at least take a look at it, read through it, and if they have any questions, they can always come back and talk about it with Oracle, the contacts.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So there are some resources that we're sharing on the screen. There are a few blogs. We have links to our technical documentation, some reference architectures for best practices around design. We have links to how you can use the programmatic API to integrate into your Terraform, as well as pricing. And this information will obviously be shared as part of the recording, as well as you should get this in via email as well.
Absolute pleasure having you, Troy, on our session today, and thank you for joining.
True, I totally agree. Thanks, Troy, for answering all these questions for us. Thanks, Anand, for leading the conversation, and Shomi for managing the Q&A panel. Great information and insights shared today here. I hope everyone enjoyed the session and learned something new. So I just wanted to let everyone know that our next webinar will be on Monday, March 25th. Join us to learn about stack monitoring and its advanced monitoring features that include the ability to monitor conditions unique to your environment and identify performance anomalies. Thanks again for joining us. See you all next time. Have a great day, everyone.